And what's up, everybody? This is Terminator Juice, and we got another Monday, Mario Kart Monday, episode 4, and joined again by friend Derek Steel Fox. He's gonna chime in here. You know, before we get into any of that, I just figured since last week you were there, we didn't really you didn't get a chance to really say anything about yourself, so I thought we'd start off by just give a brief history, your gaming history, and what system you started on, and just kind of some of the genres that you like, just to give people an idea, like a baseline, when they hear your opinions, so they know where you're coming from. So, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Sure, and I'll keep it brief.
Okay.
I started with Nintendo, like I think a huge majority of people probably did. Uh, you know, Big titles for me back then, Zelda. Who can argue with that?
Mhm.
Uh, from there on, I was pretty much a solid Nintendo fanboy because that's all there was. I had Nintendo. I love the Super Nintendo. I got the Nintendo 64. Super Nintendo, of course, love that. They had my Final Fantasy. They had, all the big titles like that. Big role-playing game fan, big fan of strategy games. I kind of leaned more towards Sony once they started stealing those titles away. I had to go over there to play Final Fantasy and the other good RPGs. So they took me away a little bit. And then, they had Mega Man too. But with the Wii U, I'm definitely coming back, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, do you feel like Nintendo's, I mean, they don't have the third party support that the Super Nintendo did, but do you feel the Wii U's getting back to what Nintendo used to do, just have just the best games? And I mean, they kind of had a swag to them, like they were confident and slightly cocky, I guess, but I kind of feel like they lost that, and for me personally, it seems like they're getting that back now, a year and a half into the Wii U, but maybe I'm off base on that. What do you think?
Well, Nintendo definitely stepped their game up, but I don't even know if it's entirely that they've stepped their game up. I feel like a lot of the other companies, those being Sony and Microsoft, I feel like some of the offerings are just getting really bad. I'll say Final Fantasy again. I loved it. Those titles are just getting awful. I mean, I couldn't even get through the 13th one. And maybe some other people here can agree with me, but it was just so different than what the game I grew up with.
Well, didn't
And then you
most
go and
of
you
like for Final Fantasy, didn't most of that creative team go and they started their own companies like Monolith Soft and I forget the other one, Intelligent Systems, I think, got some of those people. So it's not the same studio anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it changes hands and things like that. But that's kind of my point. You go back and you 3D World or any of these Nintendo games, and you still get that exact same great quality. There's no diminishing return on these. They're still fantastic, and you know what you're getting when you buy them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like the younger gamers, like the guy Josh that we work with, he grew up, basically his first serious gaming machine was like the PlayStation 2 or Xbox, I forget which one he had. Then 360 is where he really got into gaming. So he's used to like patches and games not working right when they launch and all that. So for those younger, they don't know any better, and I feel like we know better because we're back in the day that game had to be right, or if it was crap and broken, I mean, word of mouth spread so fast, and games would just tank if they were broken. So I think there was a lot more pressure on them, the developers, to make those good games. I think Nintendo still holds themselves that same standard, and they still feel that same pressure to deliver the quality, even with the ability to patch and update and stuff now.
That
So
sure seems to be the case.
yeah, like third parties are getting away with all kinds of stuff these days, with showing CGI trailers to showing fake gameplay and all that, and tricking people and building up hype the wrong way. And I think you're right. I think Nintendo's just kind of been this steady, and then Sony really climbed and peaked, with the PS2 and an Xbox 360. They kind of, I think they're going to peak with that. I don't think they're ever going to get back to that. And Nintendo just kind of stayed level, and now Sony and Microsoft are both dropping. In my opinion, right now we'll see what happens in a couple of years, but I think that was a good point that you made there. So yeah, I know you love RPGs and all that. So when I see an RPG, you're the first person that I go to say, how do you feel about this game? So just to let people know, I know Mr. Red Fox and Francis from Player Essence are huge RPG guys, and I never have any input. So maybe one of these days we can I get all three of you together. You guys can just talk about RPGs, and I can just listen. So I think that'd be cool. But
It'll be a very
all
nerdy
right,
conversation.
let's just get on to the yeah, it would it would be. Let's just get on to the results from the tournament, and then I made an executive decision to not do random rules this week. I want to reset it, go all items, all vehicles, just kind of to see how we the what's the word I'm looking for, the turnout. How many people show up because it's been kind of sporadic, and I don't know if people are afraid, like being scared away by certain um, rules like the mushrooms only and stuff. So I'm gonna try just this week do all items and all vehicles, and it's gonna start at 9 p.m. this Wednesday instead of 9:30. I guess didn't see any new people doing the 9:30. I did get a couple people really late, so I'm gonna go over the list. We had Titanium in first. He won all but two races. He won 14 races, and then he got second in one and fourth in another. Just ridiculous. Wheels Pig had a good showing. Then Leo Man 83, he came out of nowhere. I thought I had third locked down, but he beat me by 7 points. So good for him. If he's watching this, way to go. Then I got fourth. Andrew got fifth. Steel Fox, you got sixth, right 1 point behind Andrew. And then Mike, New World Order for Life, got seventh. And Rajo got eighth. And then there was 7 people, I think, that only had 15 points or less. So they only came in for like one or two races. One person had 1 point. Obviously, they only raced one. I think what happened was the shuffling, which we'll talk about, was messing everybody up. And you were with Wheels Pig almost for the first half of the tournament, I think. Then there was like a group of 6 that I was in. I think we joined up for like one or two races, and then it split us back up. So I actually backed out and then joined you. So that was the 3 of us. And then I think the last 4 races, there was 5 or 6 or 7 racers. So yeah, the shuffling, that's turned off. I forgot to say that too. That's like if you guys watch my 8 fixes for Mario Kart 8, that was my number 2. Was that number 2 or 1? It was 1 or 2. I can't remember. I think it might have been 1, but I thought it's the only real broken part of the game is the shuffling system. So what was your experience, and how do you feel that kind of ruined last week? That's how I felt about it.
Well, I'd love to say that I had a great advantage because, like you said, I was in the lobby with just Wheels Pig for at least 6 races. But it was just him kicking my butt for race after race after race. I didn't gain too much out of it, but it did suck. I have a lot more fun when there's 12 of us.
Yeah, and I think having the shuffling off, it's going to force. I mean, as people come in after the first, second, third race, people join. Then we're going to be all 12 until the first. Like if I'm there, you're there right in the first race. Then once we race our 16, there could be potential to be a couple people that race a couple races with mostly CPU after we're done. But for the most part, it's going to be, as long as we have at least 12 people, obviously, we'll have a full lobby, and I think it's going to make it more competitive instead of just 2 or 3 people racing against the CPU. Then everyone's getting all these points. And I think that's why ever since I turned the shuffling on, I noticed the points been higher, the totals for everybody. Because our first tournament was, I think the winner had like 160. And in this tournament, 160 would have been 5th place. So it's going to suck if we got like 14 people, and there's going to be 2 people racing against the CPU the whole time. And they're going to have a huge advantage. But we'll know, like, be able to say, hey, this person all of a sudden's in first and we never seen them, and there's 14 racers. We'll know that those 2 just race against the CPU. It kind of sucks. But maybe I'll have to just decide the winner based on if it looks like they raced CPU the whole time. If I turn the CPU off, then they're only getting 3 points for winning if there's 2 people, so they're not going to stay. So we'll try to find a balance here, but it'd be nice if the shuffling won't be as bad as if everyone could just get in within 1 or 2 races of each other. But
it doesn't give you much time at all.
No, because I got in and I was spectating. Well, it turned out it was a practice race that we were spectating. I figured that out because we were the first one to get points. Got in right away, and there was just a couple. It was me and me and Wheels Pig, or I think it was Wheels Pig, and then you came in after, I think. And I raced with 6 people for a little bit, but mostly, oh, we lost Tim. Or we lost Derek. I'm going to send him an invite back. Let's see if we can get him back. We're live, and this kind of stuff happens. So basically, the shuffling sucks, is what we're trying to say. And if you're watching this, you raced in the tournaments, you know. At one point, I backed out, and it showed there was 11 racers, and it threw me in first it threw me in a lobby by myself. Then it threw me in a lobby with 2, and then I was with 3, and then I kind of got in with 6 for a little bit. So it's definitely broken, and it's just not fair that 2 people are going to race against the CPU while there's 6 of us racing, and it needs to be fixed. But in the meantime, the shuffling off is going to make it so we get 12 racers. We're going to be racing 12 racers. You're going to have to compete. You're going to have to do good, and you can't rely on beating the CPU all the time. So we'll see what happens. If I start getting more people in, and 16, 17, 18, like I had in the 3rd week, I'll put the shuffling back on, because it's not as bad when there's more racers. But when there's only 10, 11, 12, 13, and you're shuffling, it's just broken. So yeah, I gave the new rules, 9 o'clock Wednesday. Yeah, Titanium, by the way, congratulations. I mean, I don't know what you were doing, but couldn't touch you. And I also wanted to mention the mushrooms only, which I think I discussed with, forget who I talked to about that. I don't know if it was on air or not, but I got coins probably 60, 65% of the time. So it was just Derek texted me. So it kind of sucked. I was thinking it was just going to be mushrooms. I wasn't expecting to be able to get coins. And I noticed, I'm inviting him back, not to say he didn't deserve the win, but I was behind Titanium in 2nd place many times, and I'd get coins, and I'd look on my gamepad, and he had a mushroom. And I'd see him take the shortcuts a lot. So it was kind of, seemed good to have you back. I'm just going over how I kept getting coins instead of mushrooms, and I was looking at people in 1st, like Titanium was getting mushrooms in 1st while I was getting coins in 2nd. So that was another reason why I just went with all items this week, because I thought if it's gonna be mushrooms only, it should be mushrooms only. There should be no coins. I just wasn't expecting that, and I thought it really kind of ruined it for me. There was a race which I have saved, and one day I'm going to record it off screen with my camera and upload it. I hit every item box on all 3 laps, and I only got a mushroom 1 time. I got coins the rest, and I was in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and it didn't matter. I just kept getting coins. So that was another reason why I was switching to all items this week. So I know you said that you got a gold mushroom once, you got the 3 mushrooms a few times, but I got the revolving mushrooms a couple times, never got the gold mushrooms. So it wasn't very good in my opinion, the mushrooms only. I think it was the worst of the rules we had so far. And just how'd you feel about the mushrooms? I can't remember what your thoughts were on it.
Well, when you spend most of your time in the last few places that 9th, 10th, and 11th, you tend to get a lot more of the nicer items. So I didn't have the same issue as you did. Funness, though, the bombs was probably the most fun one. That was
I thought that one was fun.
Yeah. That was completely different than anything else we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Involved.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little still with your when you talk, so I don't know if you can get closer to your Wi-Fi or not, but or you want to just keep going with it. I mean, I could understand what you're saying, but just wanted to give you a heads up. It's
If you
not.
think it's too bad, you just go ahead and toss me. I'm not really.
Yeah, that you just came through good right there, so we'll go with it.
All
Yeah,
right.
so moving on. I mean, hopefully someday they'll fix that shuffling system, but until then, I'm gonna keep the shuffling off and yeah, so that's it for the Mario Kart 8 stuff. Oh, I do want to throw a shout out to ASAP Ariel. He beat my time on Rainbow Road, the new Rainbow Road. I put out a challenge. I was at 2 minutes and 18 seconds on a sport bike. I put out the challenge, got beat right away. I switched to a kart, got 217. ASAP got 216, and I spent the last hour and I got 215.6. So it's back to you, ASAP. And I noticed somebody else of my friends was having me beat by like 3-4 seconds, and I can't shave any more time off. I don't know what else to do, so I think I'm gonna stick with my 215 time. But yeah, so that's it for Mario Kart 8. There was an interesting development today. And Derek, I didn't tell you this yet, so I want your genuine live reaction here. IGN had a poll a couple weeks ago, and 200 and some thousand people partook in the poll, and it was all about E3, and they had three different options. Who had the best games at E3? Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Who had the best presentation? Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, and then who had the best overall E3. So it's IGN, and you know me, I've told you many times about some of the idiot trolls and some of the dumb comments I read on there. So who do you think won by the people voting in those three categories? Who would you think got first place?
Um, what were the choices that they were given? Anything open forum?
It was just the three: Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and it was who had the best games at E3. So
I asked because I would never know what those idiots would write out if
yeah,
they weren't given
yeah, it's just
specific
you
choices.
had to choose. You had to choose. You
All
only
right,
had three.
perfect. So it was structured. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
IGN, Microsoft won
Okay.
a lot of it. I'd say overall, Microsoft because the Xbox One is doing so awesome. Blinders.
Well, Nintendo won 42% of the vote. Where'd my camera go? I lost my camera. There we go. 42% of the people said Nintendo had the best games, and like 30, it was 30 something percent said Microsoft, and then Sony was it was Sony second, Microsoft third on games. Who do you think they voted best presentation?
Well, games was up in the air, but presentation should go to Nintendo. I mean, that was just so entertaining.
Yeah, it was
Sony's was really boring, so I'm gonna say they won.
No, Nintendo had 48% of the votes for best presentation. Microsoft had like 30,
All
low
right,
30s, and Sony had like 20 something, 27%.
this is pretty good so far.
And then the final best E3, it's kind of obvious now, but just rank. What do you think was 1, 2, and 3?
Well, I'd say Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, based on the scores.
You're right. And well, the only thing that was different, that was kind of weird, is when they showed the graph, it showed Sony for second and third. He said Microsoft got third, but they might have to change that. But either way, Sony and Microsoft were at they were close to 30% each or something. I don't know how it doesn't equal 100%, but Nintendo was 49% of the voters said Nintendo had the best E3, which compared to last year, I don't even think last year. I'd be surprised if IGN even had Nintendo as a choice. Like it
Give me
was.
chills, man. This is
Yeah,
exciting.
so that's really cool. I mean, it's only 200 some thousand people, and
Yeah, only.
but I read so many comments on Nintendo videos on IGN, and it's these people that they just hate on Nintendo for. It's like, why are you watching these videos? Why would you click on a 3D World video to say, oh, it's just another Mario game where you have to press B to jump. They haven't changed anything. You know, you get stupid comments like that, yet the majority of these people, almost half the voters, pick Nintendo, which was really surprising. And the thing is, I was on IGN today, and I did not see those results anywhere. Somebody actually found it on IGN UK and shared the link. Like, that video is like buried. They didn't. It's not on the top page last time I checked. I'll go right now just to be fair to IGN, and I'll see if it's anywhere on the top pages. And this might be old news, but to me, it's new, so bear with me. Okay, I'm on there. Their big story is their Destiny beta. That's it. Usually they have 5 top stories. They only have 1. It's Destiny. And I'm scrolling down. Oh, it is. It's the 3rd thing down on the top stories. So.
All right.
So yeah, it's kind of small, but you know, their Destiny. Obviously, they're getting some kind of exclusive look at the beta or something, so they're making a big deal. But yeah, so I thought that was cool and unexpected. You know, I voted Nintendo all the way, and I voted genuinely. I genuinely thought I watched them all, and I like Nintendo games, and you know, there was a couple that I'd probably not gonna buy, but Sony and Microsoft showed me a bunch of games I'm gonna get on my PC next year, and that's pretty much it. And so I thought that was cool, and I left a message to Francis on his Player Essence article. I think he had that posted on his Player Essence website. We had a live stream, me and Francis, and he asked, you know, bold predictions for E3, and I said, and once this video is uploaded to YouTube, I'll find the link to that video and I'll watch it, find the spot where I say it. But I said one of my bold predictions was that within 2 years from this E3, Sony and Microsoft, one of them or both of them, were going to copy Nintendo's E3 2014 presentation with some kind of tournament, with the digital event, and with the Best Buy stuff. And Francis said if it's successful, he agreed. And I think we can say that it was successful because there's a lot of websites gave Nintendo the nod for E3. So, you know, I called that one, and I'm definitely gonna go back and find it so I can prove it, because I'm 99.9% certain what video it's on, and I think I can go find it out of a 2-hour live stream. I'll have to sift through it, but I thought that was cool. And you know, I've made some predictions between you and I in the past and been right, so I gotta give myself a pat on the back.
Good predictions.
So I thought that was cool. So what does that mean going forward? I don't think it'll be like immediate sales or anything for the Wii U, but it's a building block. It's a foundation of momentum that they can build upon from the rest of this year going into next year's E3. With you know, they said Zelda will probably be playable at next year's E3. So it's a good sign, and it's a good thing. I know it's not going to immediately change the fortunes of the Wii U or anything, but so I guess give me your feelings hearing that, and you know, with the rest of the game lineups for 2014 for the Wii U, and looking at early next year with Splatoon and X and stuff. How are you feeling as a Wii U owner hearing that news and looking at the games coming out?
Optimistic. It's hopefully going to be a good turning point. I'm very excited for some of the upcoming games. I think most of the Wii U owners are, and it's just they're all going to be such quality games that no matter when you decide to buy the system, you're going to be taken care of, because if you buy it later, you're still going to be able to pick up these Mario Kart 8. You know, it's not going away.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like I looked at the top 10 Wii U game sales, and Zelda Wind Waker's just under 1 million, and then you got Mario Kart at 1.8, which will be 2. That's 1.8 physical. We know it's over 2 with digital. 3D World at 2.2. You got Nintendo Land at 3 million. You got New Super Mario Bros. At 4 million. Luigi U's at like 1.6 million. So there's some pretty decent game sales for the install base, and those games will all continue to sell as new owners get the Wii U. We've been saying that.
Did I ever tell you my favorite Wii U game?
No, you did not.
I never did. Let me tell you right now. It's the Miiverse.
Well, you did tell me you love the Miiverse.
Because it takes any single player game and it just makes it better. It's better on the Wii U than it is any other platform because the Miiverse is there. Any single player game is amplified by it.
And it makes it almost, it doesn't add a multiplayer feeling to it, but it adds it's almost better in a way, like sharing screenshots. And like if I didn't have the Miiverse to challenge people with time trials on Mario Kart 8, I'd be done with my time trials. I would have beat all the ghosts and been done with it because of the Miiverse posting challenges with people, and someone beats my time, they share their time right over my time, and that's better. And that just makes me go want to play it, and that's a multiplayer game. But like 3D World, when you see somebody with the sparkling 5 stars on above their save file, you're like, that was for me. I was like, well, I got to get that, and so I went out and did it. So you're right, and you said that before. The Miiverse makes every game more interactive or social, and it just makes it better. So the same game on like the PS3 or something, like Assassin's Creed 4, is immediately better on the Wii U because of the Miiverse, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. So I want to.
Another positive point about the Miiverse, and I got to keep going about this. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
They patch and update this thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're always coming up with Miiverse updates. I think it's fantastic that they're all over it. We don't get that kind of support anywhere else from their stuff.
Yeah, we mentioned how Mario Kart 8 hasn't got a patch yet. It takes them a long time to patch things in, but the Miiverse is constantly being improved. I think they know they got a winner right there, and they want to make sure it's always working and improving. And now they gave you the option to turn off the notifications for Yaz. I mean, just that only took like 2 weeks, if that, maybe a week and a half or something. But we're still talking about E3. There's a Quentin, oh God, Quentin McLeod. He asked a question which you wouldn't know anything about, but there's a YouTuber, this girl, Eric Hoots for the Win, and I told you this story. But he asked, what's your opinion on the fact that Eric Hoots for the Win felt that Nintendo's E3 event was offensive? And I'm going to talk about that because I used to be subscribed to her. She is a avid Zelda fan, a 3DS owner, and a gamer. She's got a good history of games. She loves sports, and she's a genuine gamer. That happens to be a girl, and I liked her opinions and stuff. She bought an Xbox One at launch for reasons no one will know. I think just she's kind of a She's more of a shooter fan than anything right now. She plays a lot of Battlefield and Titanfall and stuff. So she was going into E3. She made a video saying after Mario Kart 8, it ain't going to take much for her to buy a Wii U now. She just wanted to wait for E3. She wanted to see Zelda and all this. And then it's like E3 shown, and she said it was offensive because they that skit where the guy was asking for Star Fox and Reggie lasered him and he blew up. It was that Robot Chicken skit that Nintendo didn't write, but they okayed it for the digital event. She said because all of a sudden it wasn't Zelda she was looking for. She was looking for Star Fox, and I made a video saying about how all of a sudden Star Fox is the game everybody wants. Like, I'll get a Wii U when they have a good Star Fox game. Like, it was let's wait till we get Mario Kart or we get a good 3D Mario game or get this, get that, and now all of a sudden it was Star Fox. So she said that it was offensive, and as soon as that aired, she couldn't enjoy the rest of the digital event because she was offended because she's been wanting a Star Fox game and didn't realize that it was a joke made by Robot Chicken. Those guys have really dark sense of humor. And then Nintendo did show, they hinted at Star Fox and that it'll be ready by maybe this time next year. And so she said now E3 or after that E3 that the Wii U was completely off the table for her. Like, there's no way she's going to buy a PS4 and get Destiny. So I thought that was completely ridiculous, completely irrational. She missed the whole point of those Robot Chicken skits, was Nintendo was poking at themselves and at their fans. It was a joke. It wasn't meant to be serious. And I was so bothered by it that I unsubscribed from her channel, and I haven't looked back. So I guess that's that answers his question. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was childish, and it was the cool thing. All of a sudden was, oh, we want Star Fox, and F-Zero is another game that gets thrown around a lot. But those games won't sell. No one bought the last F-Zero. No one bought the last Star Fox. But all of a sudden, like I was telling you, there's the new criteria changes for why people want to wait to get the Wii U, and it's like, oh, I'm going to wait for this game, and then they come out with that game like, oh, I'm going to wait for this game now, and it's just, I'm just sick of people just all saying the same thing. They follow the popular, trendy thing to say, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm glad he asked that question, and I'm sure she doesn't watch my videos, so I'm not too worried. Even if she does, I guess. So anyway, let's move on. PS4 sales for last week, ending in the 28th of June, was over 1 million, or 100,000 again, 104,000. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And the Xbox One with the price drop was up to like 70 the week before. Now it's down to like 62. The Wii U's been holding steady around between 50 and 60 the last couple weeks, and but the PS4 just out of nowhere, all of a sudden back over 104,000. I just want to ask people watching this, if you own a PS4, I just want to know, A, what are you playing on it, and anyone that just bought one, why are you buying it now? What games are you playing right now? Why are people buying so many right now? Like there was like 40, 50,000 just in America alone bought the PS4 that week. And it's like, why? There's no like game out that would justify that surge, and I don't understand how the hype is still selling that system. So I just wanted to, I'm throwing that out to people viewing this. Leave your comments, and if you're watching this live, get the Q&A app up on Google Plus. Let me know. I'm flabbergasted at why that's still selling. Like I was telling Derek today, someone could give me the PS4 and I could go to the store. There's not a single game that I'd want to buy for it right now. There's absolutely nothing that I don't already have or couldn't get on my PC or something. And I guess just what do you think about how the PS4 is still selling this well with basically no real impressive games out right now?
Well, I would have the same question you do. I'd be curious to hear what suddenly came out that's sparking the continued sales. I mean, I understand a lot of sales up front, and certainly it's not a terrible system. There's nothing I have against it. It makes sense that it would sell out. Why is it still at this point? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe some announcement somewhere. Maybe they're doing it to justify pre-orders of some future games.
Yeah, I mean.
But why buy that when like Mario Kart 8 bundle? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
so much with that Wii U bundle.
I know, and Europe. I forgot to tell you this last week. They had and I don't know how euros or pounds translate. It was 250 whatever euros. Forget what they use over there. You got Mario Kart 8, and like 2 other games, plus the download game you could get for Mario Kart. I think it was 3D World. I don't want to be wrong, but it was some big hitters, and it was like 250. And I think the Mario Kart 8 bundle was like 280 by itself when it first came out. So you got like, it might have been 5 games now. I'm thinking about it, including the download. So you got 4 games, Mario Kart 8, and like 3D World, and I forget the other 2, and then you got the one you could download, and it was like just an amazing deal. And Francis posted on Player Essence, and the Europe sales barely changed, and it's like, I don't know what Nintendo needs to do. I think the Europeans just don't care about those types of games. If it's not FIFA Soccer or a mature open world game, they really don't seem that interested, and I think that's part of the problem, is Nintendo's doing so bad in Europe. But yeah, I was going to tell you that about that bundle, and people still didn't seem to jump on it. So, I mean, I don't know what else they could do over there to get sales. I mean, that bundle was an amazing deal. So, you mentioned what games came out. There was a game came out the prior week, and it was EA Sports UFC and it did like 248,000 on the PS4 in the first week, and then it's at 150,000 in its second week, and then Mario Kart still holding steady in second place, close to 90,000 I think for the week. But so EA can shit all over people with The Sims and Battlefield, and then they release a UFC fighter and it sells 250,000 copies in 1 week for the PS4. And I just had to shake my head. First of all, it's EA. I mean, they're the worst company in the world. I hadn't read any reviews. I didn't even know that game was coming out. And all of a sudden, just boom, big numbers. So a lot of people were saying Mario Kart 8 sales were based off of starvation for good games. But if there's an example of starving for games, I think UFC's a better example for that. So, I don't think you knew this game existed. I didn't know it existed. So to see that it's already at like almost 500,000 in 2 weeks for the PS4, what do you think about that? I think it's just dumbfounding to me.
Maybe it's a really awesome game,
It
and we just
could,
have no idea. Maybe we're completely out of the loop on this one.
could be. I'm gonna go to Metacritic while we're live here, and I'm just wondering how it's tracking because it's not even on the page. Knowing EA, they probably banned reviews till a month after the game comes out. It's got a 69 Metacritic.
Well, there you go.
So that's, I mean,
That's over 50.
for PS4, that's not a bad score. Not to get too hater going. I'm just joking. But yeah, the best score was from some foreign company, gave it an 84. That was the highest, and then it had as low as 47. And no, Metacritic's not the end all, but it's a good way to judge other, what
Yeah,
the
you can get a
general
quick
people think.
snapshot with it.
Yeah, because it's multiple people reviewing. It's not just one person. So a game that gets sub 70 review, it was 283 in its first week, and it's gonna be. It looks like it's gonna be like 120 or something in the second week. So that's just an example right there of how starved they are. PS4 owners are for games. The Xbox One version was actually at second, but it's dropped way down. Mario Kart 8 is going to be second this week, ending on the 28th for weekly sales, still around 100,000. So that's going to continue to kind of stay around there, I think, slowly lower, and then who knows, by the next, by the time Smash comes out, that Mario Kart 8 could be back up in the huge numbers again. So that's just kind of a look. I'm not huge into sales, but I couldn't believe when I saw that the PS4 had done that well again, and with really no games to show. And I played the system. I don't think you've played it yet. The controller's nice, but the OS is it's not much different than the PS3s, and the guy we know, he doesn't have any of the social stuff figured out, so all he does is play the games, and he plays Netflix. He doesn't share videos. He doesn't look at any of that aspect of it, and
he is enjoying those PS Plus games, though.
yeah, the PS Plus, I will say, that's a nice thing. He hasn't bought a game since launch. He bought Battlefield 4, and that's it. He has not owned another PS4 title other than the free PlayStation Plus games, which is a nice thing. You're paying for online, and they're giving you a decent game every month. So that is nice, but they're mostly indie games and games that have been out a while. So if you had already played those games, you wouldn't be getting any benefit to it. So if you were like me and bought Trine 2, I would have bought it right away, and then now it's free. I think last month it was free. So it doesn't benefit people that had already bought them and played those games, but for those that don't, I guess it's nice. So yeah, another puzzling announcement. It's not official, but two German retailers have the PlayStation 3 game Beyond Two Souls. I don't know if you remember that one with Ellen Page. It was like forget the Heavy Rain, I think, was the other game that studio made. It's like a pretty much an interactive movie with some gameplay.
Yeah,
I guess they have Beyond Two Souls remastered listed for the PS4, and two German retailers have it listed for, I don't know if it was going to be by the end of this year. And I just want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, yeah, this game sold like 1 million copies on the PS3, so I'm guessing they didn't it wasn't profitable. So from a business standpoint, maybe it's smart. Put it on the PS4. This game seemed to be selling really well. Um, but the principle of it seems, for me, I mean, Last of Us Remastered is questionable, but that was game of the year. I mean, that was my number 2 game of the year. That was a great game. You played it. You enjoyed it. I could see them bringing that to the PS4 for the people that were 360 owners, never played it, you know, and some people will double dip. But a game that wasn't well received critically and sales-wise, it just seems like they're really, if it's true, I'm going to say this is a rumor at this point, if it's true, that's that should be looked at, like, that should be looked down upon. Like, this game, I think it came out in August or September of 2013, so it's not even been out a year. And you know, Wind Waker HD took a lot of crap. That's 10 years later, and they did a lot of work to it. I mean, they did a ton of work. They basically made it an average game to one of my favorite Zelda games. The
Mario Kart 8's getting that same feedback, man, for being a rehash.
Yeah.
It's another Mario Kart game.
Even though, in my opinion, it's the best one, other than a few little tweaks they need to make to the online. Just the general controls, the gameplay, and track design, everything's phenomenal. And if this turns out to be true, then a Sony fan should never, ever again, ever question anything anybody else does, because that's just ridiculous, I think. And it's not even, the game wasn't even that well received, so it just boggles my mind that that's what Sony's got. That's what they're going to do to support this system that's selling so well, is put out another game that's less than a year old. So I guess, what, you know, I don't know if I ever asked you, what's your feelings on The Last of Us Remastered coming to the PS4? They're saying it's going to be 60 frames, which was a big thing I thought they needed to do. You know, how do you feel about that? Do you think it's justified, or do you think they should have waited?
Well, it's too soon for me to. I would pick it up again. I just played through it. You know, I don't even remember when. Last year. It was last year, but.
Yeah, it was late last year.
You know, I liked it because of the story, the gameplay. Yeah, it was a little sluggish at the slower frame rate. Would I buy it again for a better frame rate? Visuals, no. You know, I mean, it was a great story, but of course, the second time through, it's gonna be less dramatic and so on and so forth. For me, it's too soon. But if you're trying to capture a new audience, I guess it's game of the year, like you said. It's a good title.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it sold like 6-something million on the PS3. I think it's too soon to do that, or they should have had it a launch title. I think they should have just been like, you know, you bought the PS3 version, they should have been part of that. Here's pay $10 and you get the PS4 version if you have the PS3 disc. They're not doing that as far as I know. The game's gonna be $50. If you never played it, never owned it, I think it's a great thing, but just that's kind of their big title for the summer, and then they don't have any exclusives, any big titles for the holiday. They have just like exclusive content for Destiny, and I don't even think they got. I think Microsoft's got Battlefield and Call of Duty exclusive content, and who cares about exclusive content? I don't know a single person that has any merit in their purchase. You know, they want the best version, one that runs the best, has the best, most solid frame rate. If you're going to have a game be on multiple systems, you just want the best version of that game. It has nothing to do with timed DLC. So I don't know. Look, I'm more of a Nintendo fan now. You know, I used to play Microsoft 360 quite a bit, and I played the PS3 for a while. But now that I've seen the light, basically, with the Wii U, you know, and I realized what I was missing with all these quality games filled with content and stuff, and I've kind of, people haven't noticed watching my channel over the last year, I've become more of a Nintendo fanboy than I was before, and I just see stuff like this, and I just don't see how people, how this is acceptable, and then a Sony fan or they'll comment about how Nintendo makes the same Mario game every year, even though they don't, but it's just stuff like that just part of the problem in this community is, you know, I could be happy for the PlayStation 4 selling so well, but I just don't understand why people are just flocking to it right now. Like maybe when Destiny comes out, I could see that. That's going to be a pretty big title. I don't know. I'm kind of lost for words on that whole situation right now. But yeah, we were supposed to talk about retro games. I almost forgot all about that. The title of my video was Too Much Retro, and you know, I was trying to struggle for topics, and that was one of the things I want to talk about. So let's get into that. I'm gonna have you give your thoughts first. I mean, like we were talking earlier today, you know, you got all these virtual console games. I got all those 30-cent ones last year, like Super Metroid, Super Mario World, and Donkey Kong, and lots Punch Out. You know, lots of these old NES, Super NES games. And now the trend with indie games seems to be to use that 8-bit style, and some games more like Super Nintendo 16-bit style. So for you personally, how do you feel about, you know, new games feeling retro and that kind of popular trend with going retro and versus, you know, playing a virtual console game which you've already played before? I mean, how do you feel about this retro? I don't even know what to call it, trend, I guess.
I think of it kind of, it's an art style at this point. It's not really retro, it's an art style, you know. It's a, you know, there's cell shading, you know, Child of Light has an art style, you know, things can be cartoony, they can use anime type stuff, they can go for realistic graphics. They're all different art styles, and retro, since that's no longer the gold standard that everyone shoots for, it's an art style that I think some companies, maybe primarily indie companies, are going for, probably for budget reasons. Ease of designing is probably another likely factor. I mean, Child of Light, I loved that art style. That was fantastic, but I would like to think that Ubisoft has a lot better of the ability to pull resources a lot more than, say, a new developer who's making Shovel Knight as their first game.
Yeah, because they already had that.
The game looks great. You know, I mean, visually, I love that art style. I don't.
Yeah, well, that game engine's already they built that for that first Rayman, not Legends, but Rayman Origins. They built that game engine. I guess all I have to do is draw something and put in the engine, just like boom, puts it in there. So they did a lot of work early on, like 5-6 years ago, to make that easier. Now,
right.
I'm sure indie developer wouldn't have that. It would take them.
I mean, I'd love Shovel Knight to look like that, but like you said, that seems like if that's your first title, that would be quite a bit of work.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's probably easier to develop, but I don't want to see that become the trend that most of the games take, because we're gonna get burnt out on it. Like, I enjoy Shovel Knight, but I played it for a couple hours and then there's nothing really calling me back to it, because, you know, I'm a big audio guy and I love music, and that's Child of Light. That's what made me buy the game, was that awesome soundtrack. And then put in Shovel Knight and it's just pure 8-bit sound, and, you know, it's cool for the first 5 minutes, but then my ears start to hurt and I turn my volume halfway down than what I normally have it on, and I don't even care about the music, because, you know, it's cool, just like hooking up your old Super Nintendo. You know, it's a great idea. You get it all hooked up, and then half hour into it, you're just like, I got my fill of it. So that's how I am about playing.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah, music's a completely different thing. You know, the 8-bit retro art style, I love looking at it. I think it looks great. You know, 8-bit sound effects, great. Throw them in, awesome. An entire music score in 8-bit, yeah, that can probably be a bit rough on the ears these days. You know, that game, Shovel Knight, maybe it would have been better. I mean, they were going for that style, so I certainly, maybe I shouldn't say that, because they achieved what they were shooting for, but it wouldn't hurt the game to have a different music in the background.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we talked about that. I like the visuals, don't bother me whatsoever. The controls are tight, they're amazing. The visuals work. It runs smooth. They didn't add intentional slowdown, which if they really wanted to be true 8-bit feeling, they'd had slowdown, like the old NES games. Every time you get into a boss, it'd be like 5 frames a second. But I think for me, if they give me the option to have 8-bit music, or even like the Super NES, that had pretty good sound capabilities. just give me something a little bit better. And for me, as a big audio guy, I got the HDMI receiver with the 5.1 hooked up to my Wii U. So I love hearing that good sound. Mario Kart 8, when I'm dragging a shell behind me, I can hear the item coming behind me. It's like, even though my speakers are just slightly in front of me, I still hear it behind me. And then when the shell hits the shell behind me, I hear it sounds like it's directly behind my head. And that adds to the experience for me as someone that's been a fan of surround sound stuff for a long time. So I think the visual part of it, I don't mind it as much, but like you said, Child of Light, that art style, that gets me into a game just amazing. I can't wait to see the next background. I can't wait to see the next area to see what it looks like. And you know, you could call me a graphics whore, I guess, but I'm more of an art style whore. I really like just amazing.
Just a whore, man.
Yes, I am. No, I just love art. Like I've always drawn, I've always doodled, and I just really appreciate artwork. And you know, it's the old saying that good art style will trump realistic visuals every time for me, especially when you're talking about 5, 6, 10, 20 years later. Look at those realistic games. Look at how crappy they look versus a game with a good art style. So, you know, you know, we got that 1001 Spikes that was on the eShop. That's total 8-bit look, and you got Shovel Knight. Then there was that Mutant Mudds game on the 3DS, total 8-bit game. What was it? Mighty Switch Force 2. It was like a 16-bit, between 8 and 16-bit looking game, and I've had enough of it personally. I play the Virtual Console games. You know, I don't mind them. They're up-res, so they look better than they ever did. But for me personally, I think that style, I hope it doesn't become a major trend, because I'm not going to keep buying these games that look and sound like 8-bit NES games. It's not for me. So that was kind of where the title came from. Too much retro. For me personally, I can't take that 8-bit stuff, you know, all the time. I need some modern touches in there, orchestrated music, or just that amazing art style of Child of Light or something. That's what I need. So I guess that's my thoughts on it. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yes. Let me tell you what my pet peeve would be. If a company starting out or otherwise tried to put a game out, and for budget reasons they're going through 3D effects. They want it to look good, maybe realistic graphics, maybe cartoony but good 3D environments. If that stuff comes out, I can no longer stand like PS1 era looking visuals. That blocky, I will not buy a game.
That's true.
I can't do it. I cannot do it anymore. So if it comes down to that, or hey, we'll just make it 8-bit, I'm gold. Make it 3D, 8-bit block characters. I don't even care. Maybe not quite like Minecraft, but
yeah.
You know,
if the end result looks like a PS1 game, like a 3D game, then don't even make it. Like
I
don't
cannot
ever.
do that anymore.
Nobody's asking for Sony or like the PlayStation's early 3D games to ever come back, like as an art style. Like no one wants that, because you couldn't even tell what things were. I mean, looking back, I don't even know how I played these games. There was a off-road racing game that had like try to do like headlights lighten up the environment, but you just couldn't see. You couldn't see the track. You just had to trial and error or memorize the turns. You couldn't see them. It was just such poor execution of visuals. I would never want to see those visuals ever come back as a trend. So I'd rather have 8-bit, 2D 8-bit than I would PlayStation 1 3D environments. So that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. But we got some questions here. I'm gonna couple of them. I think you'll be able to join in. So Mario Walker wants to know my favorite 2D and 3D Zelda game. Well, my favorite Zelda game is pretty much Link to the Past. So obviously that's my favorite 2D one. Out of the 3D ones, Wind Waker HD, I think, jumped up to my new favorite 3D Zelda game. With Skyward Sword was right there. I love the new way they told the story and the facial animations. I really got caught up into that game. Some of the side quests and stuff were a little repetitive, so looking back on it now, it's not as good as I thought. But I think Wind Waker HD takes the top. So how would you answer that?
I love that we have very similar tastes with our Zelda titles. Link to the Past, fantastic 2D game. Of course, the new one, for the 3DS, I don't know if it counts as a 3D game,
I think
partially
it's
intended.
3D. It's
But
3D, but the camera's fixed from the top. So
but that one's very good. But those two are fantastic. And then, like you said, Wind Waker HD is just beautiful. I
mhm.
love playing that game. Every time I pop it in again just to look around, it looks fantastic. And Skyward Sword, the motion controls are really cool. I mean, I know some people were not a fan, but I'm telling you, some of those end game battles, or even just the mini bosses where you're in those sword fights, and you got to come up with those new strategies. I want to see that in future Zelda games. I'm going to say it out loud. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I mean they could implement motion controls and the gamepad, like we said. You could just have it off to the side, and just they could make it an option. I don't know how fun it would be, but yeah, I think Twilight Princess happened so long ago for me. I don't even barely remember that game. I just remember we both talked about how awesome the Dark World looked, or whatever realm that was, the Twilight
Twilight
realm.
Realm.
But and I love Midna. I thought she's one of my favorite characters ever in Zelda. So, but I think I'd have to go with Wind Waker HD. And then Mario Walker commented on our comment about the PS1. I know you said the PS1 looks blocky, but what about the Crash games? They still look good to me, and Spyro 3 aged well too. I never liked the Crash games. I just thought they didn't do, like, the gameplay wasn't appealing to me. I much preferred Super Mario 64 and like Banjo Kazooie, and I never got into Crash, but I couldn't say how good those visuals would look now. I think that was late PS1, so I think that pushed it as far. It was way better. Or it was halfway through the life cycle. But the Spyro games, I've never played a Spyro game. I heard some of them are actually pretty good, though. What do you think, Derek?
Well, I was not a fan of Crash or Spyro, but that said, I will, to his benefit, those games don't look bad, but they weren't going for realistic graphics either. That's
Exactly.
that's the big separation I want to make. That style ages pretty well.
Yeah, you specifically said realistic look when they tried
Yeah,
to go for
they're
realism.
rough.
This one's interesting. What other Sega IP besides Sonic would be perfect for Nintendo? Um, I don't even know what IPs are technically theirs or what games they just published. Like, because they published ever since they stopped making consoles. They published a lot of games, but they didn't make them. They had some other, like Platinum Games, made a lot of the games they published. So I'm trying to think of Sega IPs that they own.
Do Sonic's cohorts count?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Because
did they
other
have
than
any?
that, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I honestly, I know they had the Virtua Fighter series, which it was a little too technical for me. Um, I mean, I don't know what else they own, to tell you the truth. Shenmue, I think they might own that, but I never played 2, which was on the original Xbox. I played 1 on the Dreamcast. Um, yeah, I think that's a tough one. Super Monkey Ball, I think they might own that. But they might have just published that. So, I'd have to know some of their IPs, like, to answer that fully. Favorite Sega character? Sonic, I don't know. We just went over that. I don't really know any other characters they own, so I'll say Amy from Sonic because she's a girl. Mario Walker's a big Sega fan, I can tell, because his third question is, do I own Sonic All Stars Transformed? No, I don't. Never played. I played the demo. Thought it was a bad Mario Kart wannabe, but I didn't play it that long. So I guess a lot of people think the final game was actually pretty solid. I don't know. I don't think Derek. I don't think you played it either.
No, but I've heard it was good.
Yeah, I mean it's decent. I guess it runs at 30 frames per second, which kind of sucks. But um, from what I played, it felt more like the Wipeout series games. it's just less. It's hard to describe. It didn't feel like it obviously wasn't a kart racer, so you didn't have that feeling. But it didn't feel like I was in control as much. But that's just my feelings. I'm gonna read. I didn't read this yet, so I don't know if this is a question or a comment. Why Mario Kart 8 or why Mario Kart Super Circuit doesn't get as much credit as other Mario Karts? It was the first Mario Kart on a handheld. It had great tracks, catchy music, and brought back the entire courses from Super Mario Kart, and there was no blue shell issue. You know what? When I ranked my Mario Karts, I think I had Super Circuit. I don't remember. I don't know where I had it. I played it a lot, and for the Game Boy Advance, once I got the SP with the light where you can actually see the screen, I played it. I thought it was a great game. But I think it came out. It was weird because we had Mario Kart 64 and with 3D environments, and then we went back to the all sprites, and it didn't have the smoothest frame rate. And but I thought it was a good game, and I agree that it doesn't get much credit. And it had the original Super Nintendo game you had to unlock, so it didn't have retro tracks. It just had the whole other game, but you had to really work to unlock it. I don't think Tim or Derek, I don't think you played that.
My Game Boy Advance was filled with role-playing games.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
It was a solid Mario Kart game. I thought it was good for the time. Going back, it's on my 3DS now from the Ambassador program. It's still playable, but it's not amazing. Favorite SNK game? Don't have one. I never played one, so unless they made a Samurai that Samurai game, that was the arcade game. That I forget what it's called. Did you play any SNK games?
No.
Didn't they have like fighters? I think they did a lot of fighters like beat 'em up games, but yeah. So we'll do one more question here. Just at about an hour right now, so didn't think we'd go this long, but you know sometimes I get talking about something and I can't shut up. So
Passionate.
I'll put this one to you first. Favorite Nintendo character?
Oh, nice. Put it right on me. That's such a wide question. There are a lot of really good Nintendo characters. That's why they're all still around.
I'm just start naming ones I really like. Obviously, I like Link.
Go ahead. I'm thinking about this. You go ahead.
I like Samus a lot. When on Smash, I always try to be Samus or Link. Obviously Mario. Then you got let's look at some other series. You know, Luigi's gained some cred with the Luigi Death Stare. I think he's gained some cred with some people. It's got to be between Samus and Link, maybe Zelda.
Samus is up there. That's for sure. She is all kinds of awesome.
That's the first amiibo I'll buy when I saw him. The Samus one is the one that jumped out at me. So I'm going to say Samus. And Zero Suit Samus is number 2. Because I was watching the Smash reveal of her, and I was just like, damn. Nintendo knows
a lot of Metroid.
Yep. It's funny, they're like, Nintendo's for kids, but then you see Zero Suit Samus's design, and you're like, that's geared towards adult males, and it's not for kids. So yeah, Samus though, especially the suit with the round shoulders, not the Varia suit, but the next suit where she got the bulkier shoulder pads. Definitely.
When you find out that she's a female in the early games, like at the end of the game, kind of as bonus content, it's very cool. You know, it was like an unknown fact back then that was a male or a female character.
Yeah,
you always assumed it was a male.
That game was so hard. I got lost. I didn't know. Even to this day, I can't get through that game. That was challenging. I think in did you play Metroid Fusion? I think every time you died, it revealed Samus, and she'd like.
Yeah, scream. Yeah. With later titles, you get to. I mean, it wasn't a secret anymore, but man, it was cool to work for the Super Nintendo one. I think it was if you did a speed run in under 10 hours, you could see her without her suit.
Mm-hmm.
She had clothes on.
Yes.
But, you know, she didn't have her suit on.
So you settling on Samus, you think?
I was trying to cop out of the question, but I'm gonna have to settle. Samus is pretty cool. I like Kirby because he's
Kirby's
he's
cool.
pretty badass. He doesn't really have a lot of spoken dialogue or anything, but he's pretty hardcore.
All right, I'm going to ask Mario Walker a question. If you're still watching, you gotta just answer in the Q&A. All right, we've had Kirby's Epic Yarn. We're getting Yoshi's Woolly World. What's the next Nintendo franchise you want to see go with the wool or yarn art style? And I'll give him a minute to answer. I'm gonna ask Tim. God, Steel Fox. I don't know. Sorry, Derek Steel Fox. I don't know how big of a fan you are of that art style, but I think Yoshi's Woolly World was one of the best looking games at E3 this year. What do you think would be another game that would really benefit from that art style in particular? Would it be 2D or 3D? Doesn't matter.
Well, it is a really pretty art style. I like it. It's a clever idea. You want to go with a softer title. For instance, Zelda and Metroid probably wouldn't work too well with the yarn theme.
Mm-hmm.
Mario would probably look a little silly. The yarn theme. Yoshi, Kirby, those are our characters. I'm going to take longer than Mario on this one.
I honestly, once I saw that, I was like, the next Mario game has to be that. I don't want any more new Super Mario Brothers. If they're not gonna go crazy with some new art style, I want to see it with the yarn. I think that'd be awesome. I'd love to see Bowser be just huge yarn character.
Okay. I was thinking Mario would just kind of look like a ball of yarn, but maybe Bowser would look cool.
I'm thinking of all the environments they could do. It'd give it a fresh feeling. I just think the new Super Mario Brothers series, even though the U one was the best one by far, was one of the best 2D Mario games. I think they need to reinvent 2D Mario. Their next 2D Mario game has to do something fantastic, and I wouldn't mind a Yoshi or a wool yarn style taken maybe even further or something. But that's me. Mario didn't comment, so I don't know if he left us.
Yarn Pikmin. I got it. Yarn Pikmin. Even though the graphics look pretty awesome and perfect for the game. Let's put them in yarn now.
The Pikmin game as it is, it's so zoomed out. I don't know if that would affect it negatively.
Put it in yarn.
I'm thinking still, I'd love to see Mario, but I'm thinking there are other franchises. Because it's funny. It's yarn, but it looks photorealistic yarn. It's Nintendo's take on photorealistic visuals. It looks real.
You want realistic graphics? We'll make them out of yarn.
And then the Kirby with the clay. I remember Claymation.
I was just going to bring up the clay.
That was a big deal back. They even had a fighter, Clay Fighters or whatever. But that Claymation was a fad for a while. But Kirby's that game, that Rainbow Curse, the more I saw that game, the more I saw the lighting effects and the water reflections, and it looks like real clay. And I was like, damn, too bad I'm looking at the gamepad the whole time. But that's a cool one. So Mario Walker, that's a good answer. Wario World, give Wario the yarn theme. I never played a Wario World. I only played the minigame ones. The couple on the Game Boy Advance and the Wii one. It would be crazy, but just think if they did a first-person adventure game and with yarn. I don't know how that would work, but Metroid Prime yarn.
Just the kind of thinking they need.
Well,
outside the box.
What they could do is make it just an option, after you beat the game here. You can turn everything into wool, or just one level, just some crazy game where they just have all these crazy different art styles, and you just play one level. But it would be cool if they'd take that art style and just try throwing it into different game types and seeing what people think.
See what sticks. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I can't really think of any other franchise.
It was a good question, though.
I think really Mario is probably the only one that would really work, or Wario or Luigi, you know, something like that. I think it'd have to still be 2D, 2D, you know, even though it has layers of depth. I think the 2D plane suits that better than like a 3D environment. Like, you know, another one which I completely forgot, Donkey Kong Country, the next one, that could be cool with Yarn, you know. But I love Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, so I don't know if I'd want to see them go Yarn with that franchise. So maybe do Clay for that one, because I thought the original Donkey Kong Country kind of reminded me of those
Clay, yeah.
those pre-rendered ones kind of look more like Clay. So I wouldn't mind if they mixed it up like that, you know. Like Tropical Freeze was one of my favorite 2D platformers, but they did stay pretty close to the original Returns on the Wii for a lot of the sound effects, and even the bananas, like the loading screen, was the same. I wouldn't mind seeing them take a few chances. Like I said, the next 2D Mario game, I think they need to really step it up and not just give us another new Super Mario Brothers game. You know, maybe come out with something, a visual style that just really pops, and call it Super Mario Brothers 4. You know, finally, we've never had an official 4, something like that. So, but anyway, you know, good talking here. I think we had a good discussion. I didn't mean to keep you for an hour. I know you think half hour is probably the better for people watching this. It's always more appealing
When it's just you, it's a little tough to listen to you for an hour.
Yeah, I can understand that. So that's why, like last week, went for an hour and 46, just because we had 2 more people, and it's hard to stop talking when you're talking to people that like the same things as you.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I came. Even it was by popular demand, but
yeah, I mean, I had all kinds of requests. I mean, I think I had one email requesting you come back. So just kidding. Mario Walker said, you know, maybe Nintendo could bring a third party, like he said, Pac-Man, like a 2D Pac-Man game or something. Nintendo could make it and publish it, but maybe get another IP from somebody else or something. That's for the Yarn style, so that's kind of a interesting idea. Bayonetta 3 in Yarn style. Bayonetta's Woolly World.
No, whole different. No, you're done.
All right, guys. We had pretty good view totals this whole time, so I want to thank everybody for watching. I don't know if people are watching this on YouTube or Google, but Mario Walker, other than I think one other person, had a question. So, but appreciate everybody for watching, and you know, do this every Monday until no one watches anymore. So, I'm gonna, instead of like just trying to have one topic, like I don't know what else to call it. I want to like get some people's attention, but I'd like to talk just more generally about games, unless something major comes up in the future episodes. So you know, we can keep doing this at 8 o'clock if that works for you. If you want to, you know, if we want to bump it to 8:30 or something, let me know. I think I get notice there's more viewers later. If I do it at 6, I usually don't have anyone watching it live. So
it could be because I'm here. I mean,
yeah, could be you. Could be that muscle shirt you're wearing. So, but anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining me again, and thanks everybody for watching, and congratulations to Titanium for his ridiculous effort in the tournament. See if he can repeat. So yeah, you know, any last words or anything you want to say before we leave?
No, had a good time. There you go.
All right. All right, guys. You know, as usual, we'll see you on the next video, and happy gaming.